Yes, the crypto market is down, and if I'm being honest with you, I know it's been stressful. If you've been holding altcoins over the last few months, you've probably found yourself checking your portfolio, seeing red, and wondering what you're doing wrong. Because it's not just that things aren't pumping, it's that sometimes things actually are, and that's what makes it confusing. You've got certain projects just sitting there doing nothing, slowly bleeding or moving sideways, while others are quietly climbing without much noise. And that creates this kind of uncomfortable feeling because it doesn't fit the way we've been trained to understand crypto markets. In the past, things felt much simpler. Back in 2021, everything moved together. When Bitcoin went up, altcoins followed, and when Bitcoin dropped, everything dropped with it. It was chaotic, but it was predictable chaos, and most importantly, it rewarded almost everyone who was involved. But what we're seeing right now doesn't look like that at all. It doesn't feel like any kind of bull market, and it doesn't feel like a full bear market either. It feels like something in between. And that in between phase is where most people actually lose money. Not because the market is crashing, but because the market is changing and they haven't realised it yet. So, in this video, I want to break this down properly. I'm going to show you why some altcoins are outperforming others right now, what's actually driving that strength, and how all of this connects to a much bigger shift happening behind the scenes in crypto. Now, if you're new here, my name's Paula, and on this channel, we break down what's really going on in the crypto market without the hype. I'm not here just to tell you what's pumping, I'm here to help you understand why it's happening so you can actually stay ahead of the game. Because once you understand the why, you stop chasing the market and start reading it properly. What's happening right now is that crypto is moving from a speculation driven market into a selection driven market. And that sounds simple, but it changes everything. Because when the market is driven by speculation, almost anything can go up. Liquidity flows everywhere. Narratives take off quickly and people pile into whatever is trending. But when the market becomes more selective, money starts asking questions. It looks for purpose, for usage, for demand, and it starts flowing into projects that actually have a role to play. And that's why we're seeing altcoin divergence. Instead of everything moving together, the market is splitting. Some projects are quietly outperforming, some are just surviving, and some are slowly fading. And this is where it gets really interesting because if you look at the projects that are actually doing well, they all have something in common. They're connected to real usage, real demand, or real financial systems. Let's start with one of the clearest areas of strength, which is real world assets. Now, this isn't the most exciting narrative on the surface, but it's one of the most important. Projects like Ondo Finance have been building products that allow investors to access tokenized US treasuries and other real world financial instruments on chain. And the reason why this matters is because it brings traditional finance into crypto in a way that institutions actually understand. It's not speculative, it's structured. And it offers something that a lot of crypto doesn't: yield backed by real world assets. Then you've got Maple Finance, which has seen massive growth in assets under management. What Maple has done differently is focus on institutional lending, creating a system where large players can access credit online in a structured way. So instead of relying on retail speculation, it's tapping into a completely different source of capital. And another interesting one in this space is Zbeck Network, which focuses on real-time payments and payroll systems using blockchain. Again, this isn't about hype, it's about functionality. These projects are solving actual problems, and that's why they've been able to outperform quietly while the rest of the market struggles. Now, in the second area that's been showing real strength is trading infrastructure, and this is something most people completely overlook. Even when price action feels slow, trading activity doesn't stop. Platforms like Hyperliquid have been seeing huge levels of volume and generating significant revenue through perpetual futures trading. And this is important because it tells us that even in quieter market conditions, there is still a massive amount of activity happening behind the scenes. What makes Hyperliquid particularly interesting is that it captures that activity directly. It's not relying on speculation about futures potential. It's benefiting from what people are already doing right now, which is trading. And when a project is tied to real usage like that, it creates a much stronger foundation for growth. Then you've got privacy coins, which have been one of the more surprising outperformers. Projects like Monero and Zcash have shown resilience, and the reason is actually quite logical. As more activity moves on chain and transparency increases, privacy becomes more valuable. If every transaction can be tracked, analysed, and linked, then having the option for privacy becomes essential rather than optional. So, what we're seeing here is the market starting to reprice privacy as a core piece of infrastructure rather than a niche feature. And that's a big shift because it changes how these projects are valued long term. And then finally, you've got the infrastructure layer, the projects that everything else is built on. Ethereum continues to dominate as the main execution layer for decentralized applications. Chainlink plays a critical role in connecting real-world data to blockchain systems, which is essential for things like tokenization and smart contracts. BNB benefits from one of the largest ecosystems in crypto, with consistent usage and a built-in burn mechanism that reduces supply over time. And then you've got newer players like Sui, which are building out ecosystems focused on scalability and user experience. These projects might not always be the fastest movers, but they are foundational. And in a market that is becoming more selective, that kind of positioning matters. Now, on the other side of this, we have to talk about why some altcoins are underperforming. Because the reality is, not everything is going to survive this shift. Projects that don't have clear use case, that don't generate demand, or that rely purely on attention are starting to struggle. And that's not necessarily because they're bad projects. It's because the market is maturing. It's becoming more selective. And that means it's no longer rewarding everything equally. And this is where things start to connect to a much bigger picture. Because this isn't just about individual altcoins. This is about the direction crypto is moving as a whole. You've got institutions entering the space much more seriously. You've got increasing focus on regulation. And you've got new narratives forming around AI, automation, and tokenization. All of this is pushing crypto towards becoming a more structured financial system rather than just a speculative market. Now, before I wrap all of this up, I want to quickly mention something we've been working on, which is the UK Crypto Podcast. This is where we start to break down topics like this into conversations that are much more relaxed and in a much more long form format. We start to talk about what's really going on in the market, the macro side of things, and how everything connects together, not just what's moving on that day. New episodes drop every Friday at 7 p.m. UK time. So if you want to join me and Milkshake Matty, I'll link the latest episode at the end of this video. So when you look at the market right now and you feel like things don't quite make sense, that's because you're in a transition phase. This isn't the part of the cycle where everything moves together. This is the part where the groundwork is being laid for the next move. And the next move in crypto probably won't be everything pumping at once. It's much more likely to be specific sectors, specific narratives, and specific projects leading the way. And if you can identify those early, you can put yourself in a completely different position compared to everyone else who's still waiting for confirmation. If this helped you see the market a bit more clearly, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments which altcoin you think is quietly outperforming right now and why. Because those conversations are where the real insights come from. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.